and welcome to Challenge Solutions. My name is Caitlyn, and in this video, I'll be sharing 5 packing tips for the blind and visually impaired. When you're traveling, especially as a blind person flying alone, it's super important to be very organized about how you pack and to think about what bags you're going to bring with you, so you make sure you pack bags that are going to be easy to carry while you're navigating through the airport and trying to follow directions and do sighted guide and things like that. So hopefully this video will give you some organizational tips and an idea of what bags are best to pack as a blind traveler. Tip number 1, make a packing list. I recommend making a packing list in the Notes app on your phone with a checkbox for each item that you can check off with VoiceOver. I have made the list in Braille on paper before, and that worked, but then I had to keep up with an extra sheet of paper, and it's a lot harder to lose your phone than it is a random sheet of paper with a packing list on it, so I definitely recommend making it on your phone or an iPad or another device that you're going to bring with you that is going to be hard to lose. I also recommend being very specific about what goes on this list. Make sure you itemize each individual thing. Don't just write toiletries or clothing. Make sure you specify each toiletry item, and if you don't want to be as crazy as I am and itemize each specific outfit that you're going to pack, at least write down how many outfits you need to pack so you make sure you end up with enough clothing, because let me tell you, it is not fun to get to your vacation destination and find out that you are 2 shirts short. I also recommend referring back to this packing list whenever you're repacking to return home. As blind people, we don't have the luxury of being able to look around a hotel room and see that we have left our phone charger plugged into an outlet. So if you go back down the list and check off all the boxes as you're repacking for your return trip, then you'll make sure you don't leave your phone charger in some random hotel room, because nobody wants to leave their phone charger in a random hotel room. Tip number 2, pack independently and never ever share a suitcase with anyone. It is super important that you pack your own suitcase. Make sure you put everything in that suitcase by yourself, because eventually you're going to need to find it by yourself. Even if you're not traveling solo and you're going with people, you're still not going to want to have to ask people to help you find things in your own suitcase, and you don't want to have to be rummaging through it to find things that other people put in there. So if you've got an overly helpful family member who wants to help you pack and is trying to put things in your suitcase right and left, maybe gently tell them to don't do that, because you need to do it yourself, because you're going to need to find it yourself. If you are, say, a younger teenager and you're going off to summer camp for the first time and you've got a parent or another family member who wants to make sure you're not forgetting anything and is trying to be helpful, that's great. If you want them to help and make sure you've got everything you need or anything like that, that's fine. They can check it or help you or whatever, but make sure that at least they show you where they're putting things. And it's even better if you do as much of the process as you can on your own. I recommend making your own packing list, putting everything in there by yourself, and that way you know where it is and you're not going to have any problems down the road. I also recommend never ever sharing a suitcase with anyone. I don't care how short your trip is. I don't care how close you are to the person. I don't care how little you're packing. I don't care how organized you think you both are. It's not worth it. Things will merge in there. You will not be able to find things or separate your things from the other person's things by the end of that trip. Living out of a suitcase on your own is hard, and living out of a suitcase that is shared with another person where everything is rogue in there and things are merged is even harder. So just don't do it. Take my word for it. I shared a suitcase with my mom a couple years ago, and by the end of that trip, my medication had merged with her medication, my clothing had merged with her clothing, all our toiletries were mixed up. It was not okay. I had to ask her to separate my clothing from her clothing every day and separate my medicine from her medicine. It wasn't good, and I will never ever do that again. Just pack your own suitcase. Don't let it merge with anybody else's stuff, and you'll be better off for it. Tip number 3, use packing cubes and pouches to keep your suitcase organized and everything compartmentalized. If you don't know what packing cubes are, you're missing out and you need to buy a set. They're basically fabric cubes, or some of them are more rectangular shaped, and you unzip them kind of like little fabric boxes almost. And I like to roll my clothing because that's the most efficient way to pack and save space, and I'll just place the clothing in the cubes. I like to dedicate a different cube to different things, so I have one for like day outfits, shirts and pants that are going to go together, one for nicer outfits, one for undergarments, and one for toiletries. So I'll roll all that clothing up, and I like to kind of match my outfits in there based on what I'm going to wear on what day. So I'll put shirts down the left side of the cube and pants down the right side, and I know that the shirts and pants that are together are what I'm going to wear together each day. And then I'll zip it up, and it kind of compresses everything down neatly into a little square, and you can just set it in your suitcase, and it kind of works like a drawer that you can just lift out by the handle. It is super, super nice for keeping everything nice and compartmentalized and keeping all your outfits together. That way you don't have laundry just going rogue in your suitcase. It's very, very nice. I also really like using a packing cube for toiletries because I can just grab it, and I know that all I have to do when I'm going into the bathroom is grab the toiletry cube and whatever clothing I'm going to change into, and I'm good to go. I don't have to worry about leaving things in my suitcase and having to emerge from the bathroom to get them, or leaving things in the bathroom. As long as I put everything back into that cube, it's all gonna stay together in one little spot, and everything is nice and neat and organized. I do strongly recommend that you put everything in your toiletry cube in a plastic bag also, though, because I have had conditioner leak in my toiletry cube before, and that was not fun to clean up. But it is very nice to just have all of those cubes standing up in your suitcase with the handles towards the top, so you can just grab them and go, knowing what item is in each cube, so you're not having to dig through a mountain of clothing in your suitcase for one specific thing. I also recommend putting smaller items like cords, power bricks, battery banks, any small electronics, makeup brushes, anything like that in little zipper pouches. You can get different textured pouches, different sized pouches, different brightly colored pouches if you have any vision remaining. And then it's super easy to keep smaller objects together. You don't have to dig for one little specific thing in your suitcase. You can just grab the pouch you need, and everything stays compartmentalized and kind of organized, separated by those pouches and your packing cubes, and it's really, really nice. I highly recommend investing in a good set of packing cubes and pouches. They're not that expensive. I think I got my set of 4 different size packing cubes for like $20 to $25. So it's definitely worth it. They really are a game changer. They're also really useful in like a summer camp setting where you are, say you have bunk beds and you need to stick your suitcase somewhere out of the way, and you don't want to have to be like in and out of your suitcase, putting it in the floor and other people's way all the time and things like that. You can just take all your packing cubes out, put them on the floor under your bed, and then you have like little drawers in your summer camp setting. It really does help with organization. They really are a game changer. I recommend them. You will not regret buying them. Tip number 4. Invest in a good set of luggage that is going to hold up to wear and tear, last you a long time, and be super easy to deal with. I recommend, if you're going to travel a lot, even just once a year, getting a really good suitcase set and investing in a nice backpack or a nice like crossbody messenger bag style bag. It's really important in terms of suitcases that you get ones that are going to be easy to pull behind you. You're probably going to be either doing sighted guide through the airport, or trying to walk with your guide dog behind a sighted person, or maybe you're going to use a cane and follow someone or an IRA agent, things like that. But you've got to remember, you're either going to be holding onto someone's arm, or you're going to have a mobility tool in one hand. And you need to be able to use one hand to also pull your suitcase behind you and maneuver it. So you don't want to be dealing with a suitcase that's hard to turn, or that's going to require like picking up and like repositioning if it gets caught on something. Make sure you get one that's got the spinner wheels, that's going to turn in all directions and not get snagged on things very often, and that has a good long telescopic handle that's going to be easy to hold on to and just like put your arm behind your back and pull it. You want to make sure your suitcase is low maintenance and isn't going to require much attention, that you can just drag it along behind you and not have to worry about anything happening to it. I messed up and bought a luggage set that is just, they're really nice suitcases, like they have the telescopic handles, but the wheels aren't spinners, they're just like straight wheels. So they're great as long as you're just walking in a straight line pulling it behind you, but as soon as you have to turn, especially if it's like a tight corner, the suitcase is gonna get caught, you're not gonna be able to dislodge it without both hands involved, and you're gonna have to pick it up, sit it back down, reposition it, get your hand back in position, and then start along on your journey again. And then the next time you have to turn, you're going to be doing the same thing. It was an absolute nightmare the last time I used it on a trip. I actually used it just recently, and yeah, it was really bad. I was trying to follow my guide dog, who was trying to follow the people and, pay attention and guide me efficiently, and then I kept getting the suitcase caught on things and having to stop him, and it was just bad. So spend a little extra money, get those spinner wheels, and a good telescopic handle for your suitcases. I also recommend for carry-ons that you use a backpack. I don't recommend using a wheeled suitcase for your carry-on. It's best to have your hands free as much as possible when you're traveling, especially independently. Again, if you're walking with a dog, you're going to need to get treats with your other hand, or your dog's going to not be happy with you. So if you've got a suitcase in that hand, that's going to be difficult. Even if you're using a cane, you're going to want your other hand for like getting your ID out and your boarding pass and a number of other things. So if you can be hands-free, that's what you need to do. I really like using a backpack for my carry-on because I can just throw it on my back and not have to worry about it getting caught on things or have to deal with dragging it around. It leaves both my hands free. I do recommend getting a nicer backpack. Don't just buy a cheap backpack, because if your backpack strap breaks in the middle of the airport, that's not a fun time, speaking with experience. I'm currently using a Fjallraven Raven backpack. It's a little on the pricey side, but it's held up really well. I've used it for over a year, quite a bit, and it's super well made. It doesn't really stain super easily, and it can be wiped off if it does. It's made out of kind of a water-resistant material, which is really nice. And it has a ton of pockets and really nice water bottle pockets, so I will link to that one in the description if you're interested. I've had several JanSports that are also really good and held up really well, so just look around. Find a good backpack from a good brand that's going to hold up to wear and tear and that has a lot of pockets for organization. And I also like to make sure my backpack has water bottle pockets. Even if you're not the kind of person like me who carries a thermos everywhere you go, you're going to probably have a drink at some point, and you don't want to have to be juggling that drink in one hand. So it's really nice to have those water bottle pockets to just stick your drink in and not have to worry about it while you're walking. I also recommend having one that has like a little pocket on top where you can just drop your phone and smaller things in, and or a pocket like on the front where you can put smaller objects. I like having that so I can just reach around and grab, say, my ID and my boarding pass, or my phone or headphones or whatever I need, where it's just contained in a small space and convenient, and I'm not having to dig through like the big inner pocket of my backpack. A crossbody messenger style bag, or like a smaller crossbody purse that's got like slip pockets on either side, can also be really nice if you would rather do that than a backpack. Or sometimes I will carry a backpack as my carry-on item and then a crossbody as my personal item that goes under the seat on the plane, depending on how much I'm packing. I will also sometimes drop my like smaller crossbody bag inside my backpack and then only deal with the backpack in the airport, and that way I have a smaller bag for my destination. It just kind of depends on where I'm going, but those bags can be really nice as well for keeping like your phone, ID, boarding pass, again, all handy and just kind of on your side if you would like to have that instead of reaching around to deal with a backpack. That is also a great option. Again, the most important thing with your carry-on stuff is to keep your hands free as much as possible. And this really goes for like anywhere, even if you're not flying. It's important to have your hands free as much as possible and to have a suitcase that is going to be hassle-free and not get caught on things. Just kind of, buy good luggage that's going to hold up and be easy to deal with, and you'll thank yourself later for not causing yourself more trouble than you have to cause yourself. You're already dealing with kind of a rough situation trying to navigate a new place. You don't want to have to be worrying about your baggage while you're doing it. Tip number 5, make sure your bags are easily identifiable and know how to describe them to people. Especially if you're checking a bag that you're going to have to find later at baggage claim, you need to have some sort of identifying mark on it. I recommend having a way for you to identify it, and then also having a visually obvious marker of some sort. My suitcase is like a kind of obvious teal color, which I thought was great in theory when I bought it, because I could say mine's the teal one and people would be able to spot it really easily. Now I'm regretting that decision because it got thrown around on an airplane and is now black. So black luggage for the win. It will look a lot nicer when it's been put through the ringer in various airplanes, but if you do that, your suitcase is going to look like everybody else's, so you need to put something on it that's going to make it obviously yours. Something a lot of people do is tie like a brightly colored ribbon or band around the handle, and then you can tell whoever you're with that's sighted and looking for it what color the band around the handle is. You also obviously need to have luggage tags with your information on it so you can just verify for sure that that is your suitcase. And I also recommend putting a tile or an air tag or some other Bluetooth tracker on it. I wouldn't necessarily put it on the outside because it could get, one, stolen, or two, severely damaged during its travels. But I like to stick a tile or an air tag inside the front zipper pocket on my suitcase, and that way I can ping it from my phone, listen for it, and know that that is my suitcase. And then I also have a little charm on my luggage tag so I know it's mine. So definitely have different ways of identifying your checked bag especially, but also your backpack or whatever your carry-on item is, or the bags you're going to keep with you, because you may have to put it in the overhead bin on the airplane and need to tell a flight attendant which bag is yours so they can help you find it. My backpack that I carry is kind of a generic dark color, but I have different keychains and charms on all the zippers. That way I can tell them to look for the one that's got the different keychains on it, and they'll be able to spot it pretty easily because there are a lot of them. But it also helps me stay organized because I know which keychains to grab for what pockets, and that makes it easier for me to open the right pocket on the first try and find what I'm looking for. So kind of a dual purpose there. But if you've got kind of a generic backpack, definitely put some brightly colored ribbon or different charms or keychains or pins on it. I have pins from the different organizations I'm in on campus on mine, and then like I said, different keychains on all the zippers for zipper pulls that make mine super obvious. And then again, put your information somewhere in your backpack so if it does get separated from you, someone can find it and verify that it is yours. That's just a general tip, not just for air travel, but for life in general. Make sure you have a way of identifying your baggage. That concludes this video on packing tips for the blind or visually impaired. If you have any packing tips of your own, please leave those in the comments below so that we can all learn from each other. Also, if you have any questions or suggestions for future content, please send those to us via email using the contact form on challengesolutions.org. Also, please share this video so that it will reach a broader audience, and give this video a thumbs up so that the YouTube algorithm doesn't forget we exist. If you want to see more content like this, you can subscribe to the Challenge Solutions blog, podcast, and YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.